Okay, we're off on another adventure. Today we're going to head down one of our local roads to a place called the Lehigh Trail. We're going to go out to the Lehigh Trail and down on a sidewalk. And then after we go on the sidewalk, we'll be going back around what we call town center. And then we'll be going to the trail again and come back on the trail. So that's our trip today. Should be an hour's ride or so, and we'll see how things go. Just heading out of the community now. Now, I did put a spray on the brakes, but I did that a trip or two ago, and so far they're not too squeaky. The first material I used was canned acetone, and while it did quiet the brakes a moment, almost had to put it on every single time you wanted to use the bike. So this new material, which claims not to be acetone, sprays on, and that does a nice job. So we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm gonna stop here, go across. And we're going down on the sidewalk today. There is a bike lane in the road, but I choose to go on the sidewalk because the drivers around here have a tendency to drift, and there's a good chance they'll hit you. But I may try it. It's pretty wide here, so maybe I will try it. Yeah. Wind is pretty noisy today. I hope it's recording well. And I hear a little bit of noise there in the motor. But it is PAS3. We should be riding okay. We'll see as we progress, eh? How it goes. So we're heading down on this road, the county road, going to the Lehigh Trail. And that starts out as a boardwalk, an elevated boardwalk, and then goes into kind of compacted shell, and then some of it is actually asphalt, I believe. We're in PAS3, as I might have mentioned, and we're doing about 21 miles an hour, so we must have a very good headwind, or heading downhill, and we're in gear 7. And typically I'll ride in PAS3 in gear 5, perhaps 4 if we're going uphill. There's some people coming up. Somebody in the bike lane. Okay, I'm going to stop here just a moment. I have to change something. So what we had to do is adjust the software so it says throttle limit. And what throttle limit means, you can adjust each of the power levels to a specific maximum speed. And if you don't do that, then what happens is you'll have a maximum PAS 5 no matter what PAS level you have set on the display. So when you say limit to the PAS level settings in the software, you can adjust each of the 5 PAS levels as you want. So if you think that PAS 3 is going too fast as compared to PAS 2 and 5, or 4 rather, then you can adjust it down, or you can adjust up PAS 1 and 2 to have a little more power when you're in those settings. It's a new feature on the updated software and firmware. Very nice. Now we're going to switch to PAS 4 and pick up a little speed again. In PAS 4 I'm doing 19 miles an hour, which is pretty good. And we're getting close to the Lehigh Trail trailhead, which is coming up here on the right, I believe. Actually, no, it's further down. This is the parking lot for the trailhead. I don't know if you can see the Lehigh Rails to Trail. What this was initially was a railroad line that ran from the cement factory. Can you see the smokestack ahead of me there? That was one of the 2 smokestacks for a cement factory, which was here for years. And before we moved here, so it had to be in the 1980s or 90s, it became defunct, and all that left is the smokestack. And where the railroad was, they built this wonderful trail. Now we're going on to the Lehigh Trail. They call Rail to Trail. Now once when I was on this trail, about 11 years ago, on my regular bike, we stopped and looked off the edge, and I saw 2 right over here, and right in this area we stopped here, and I saw 2 of the biggest alligators in the wild I've ever seen. Must have been 10 and 11 feet, at least that I could guess. They were huge, and they didn't bother coming up and trying to eat me, which was a good thing. Now the trail becomes paved, and then later it becomes a shell. So this is the railroad line. Of course, the trails have been removed, and the asphalt was laid over the area. Very beautiful here. Graham Swamp is typically a dry swamp. Right now we've had a bout of rain a few weeks ago, and it's winter, of course, so it's wetter. But in the summers, typically, whoa, that was a good bump. And typically it's a dry swamp. But it is a big area. It's a conservation area, really. There are lots of animals and birds in here. Alligators, deer, all sorts of bird life. We even have feral pigs, and that's been a big problem in my community. The feral pigs are coming out of Graham Swamp Conservation Area because it's wet, and they're looking for lawns or any place they can dig up roots and grubs, I guess, whatever they eat. And they're coming into our community, digging up people's lawns. A couple of good bumps in here. They're not bad bumps, they're just kind of get you out of the seat. It's a beautiful area. This is one of the nicest trails we have here. You see all the sphagnum moss growing on the trees. They look dead, but they're really not. They're just dormant. We do have trees that drop their leaves here, besides palms, of course, and we have a lot of pine trees. And those pine trees are green all year as well. Magnolia trees stay green all year. A few others, bottle brush, stay green all year. We did have a frost this past winter, and we had 3 nights of below freezing. It was in 25-degree range for 3 nights and at least 5 hours each night. And unfortunately, that didn't do a lot of good for our plants, because normally they'll survive a frost of a night, maybe a mild frost of a night or 2. But this is a good deep frost of over 5 hours for 3 nights in a row, and it really killed them off. Now, don't feel sorry. Don't feel bad about that, because they grow back. For instance, I have an angel trumpet, which is one of the first trees to die. It's really a plant that likes to grow, or a tree that likes to grow in a more continuously warm climate. But it grows up here, and I cut it down to maybe 8 inches from the ground, and within a year it's up to about 7 feet again. Certainly 5 feet, and within 2 years it's 7 to 8 feet, maybe almost 10 feet. And they're funny plants. When it rains, they bloom, and you may have 100 flowers on the plant, and they look like little pinkish trumpets that hang downward. And if you some more bumps. Looks like they're going to be repairing these bumps here. So if you wait enough, it'll be dormant, and once you get that rain, you get 100 flowers, and very beautiful. Now, that being said, angel trumpet flowers are poisonous. I don't think they'll kill you, but they will get you sick. So nobody eats angel trumpet flowers. At least nobody I know. Anyway, this is the Lehigh Rail to Trail, and this railroad spur went from the cement plant to the main line, which is by Route 1. Then it would take it down south and north, wherever it needed to go for building. Maybe some of this even went down to Miami. It's hard to say how far their cement went and what building it went into. Now, off to our right is a canal, one of the many canals we have here in this area, and it runs parallel to the Lehigh Trail. There are some good fish in it. I don't know if you can see them or not. We'll see if you can see between the trees. There's a canal. I don't know if I got that on the video or not, but that's where it is. And you can get on that canal, and if you can get under the overpasses, you could probably go on that canal quite a long distance. Now we have some people we need to pass. On your left. Thank you. It's always nice to be courteous. People are courteous back. All right, we're going to stop here at this light. My wife is with me today, and she's back quite a way, so we'll just stop here and wait for her. My wife has caught up with me and we're waiting for the light, which just changed. And we're off again. Now, the trail goes along the sidewalk, and later it'll branch off, and we'll take that branch and continue. And towards the 2/3 point of the trail, you'll see we'll be coming back on this sidewalk from the south. That's the direction to my left. And that will bring us back to this, and that'll take us back to our starting point. Now let's see. I think it's blocked off. Okay, what we had to do was take a detour because the trail is being worked on, and I didn't realize that from the maps. So we're taking a sidewalk along the road, and we'll take that all the way down to Belterre, which is the road we'll take south, and that'll bring us back to an area that goes through city center, they call it. And we'll show you that. It's very nice here. The town which I live in, Palm Coast, Florida, has many trails, paths, sidewalks, boardwalks, places to ride bicycles. And since these are class 2 bicycles, motorbikes, or e-bikes, they are allowed on all of those pathways. Now let's see, I think maybe I can go back to the path. So I'm gonna stop here, wait for my wife, and then we'll go across onto the other sidewalk.
Average speed 15.6 miles per hour. Split speed 15.6 miles per hour.
All right, there we go. Looks like they're doing some construction over here. That's probably to the canal that's there, and yes, that's what it is. That's the canal. And on the other side is the Lehigh Trail. So we'll just take the sidewalk down. It parallels where the trail would have gone. And we'll do about the same distance. Here's another canal that goes east-west. Well, actually, that canal goes north-south. This town is full of canals, and I believe they do that for drainage, and it works very well. Beautiful day today. Temperatures probably in the 70s. Nah, I would say high 60s, but the sun is out. A few clouds in the sky, so sun warms you up with that radiant heat. I have a little vest on, but short sleeve shirt, thin long pants, and sandals as I make my ride. Of course, I always wear a helmet. I've made some comments about this before, but the story is that when I was living in New Jersey, I was riding on a 21 speed bike, about 2 miles an hour. It hit something just just almost standing still, and the tire went out from under me very quickly, and the side of my head hit the edge, and there was a sharp edge of a granite curb, cracked the helmet, and it saved me from a lot of intensive care and stay in the hospital. So I told the company what had happened, and I sent him a picture of it, and they sent me a new helmet, no charge, free shipping, and said, we're so glad, you know, you told us about your situation and your story. And I think they put that on their website, is how well their helmets worked, and they did. So I always wear a helmet. I've ridden motorcycles for over 100,000 miles, probably 150,000 miles, and I always have a helmet there, a half helmet. In the winter I put a fuller helmet on, but always had a helmet on. And now that I'm riding bicycles, I do the same, and I believe that's a very wise thing to do. Just not trying to be macho, just trying to be safe, and anything can happen on any ride on any day, as you probably all know. Little bumps here. You can see where the bumps are. They've marked it with iridescent green paint. That typically means they will be repairing those bumps and cracks in the pavement, whether it's asphalt or cement. And they do a very good job here. This is an important thing for Palm Coast, to have all these trails, sidewalks, bike lanes, paths, boardwalks for people to walk on and ride their bikes on. This is just another one. Pretty. I know they have over 125 miles, but I think it's more than that if you consider the sidewalks. It's probably closer to 200 or 300 miles of pathways through the town, and even going into the county over Bunnell and other places. The next town to us is Bunnell, and of course Flagler Beach, and they all have the same sidewalks and trails and bike lanes. So you can travel quite a distance. Now on my bike, if I have pedal assist 3, which I'm in now, and gear 5, I've been able to travel 75 miles on one charge of the battery over a number of different trips. But as long as you're pedaling, you can do quite a lot of distance as compared to just using the throttle. Using the throttle alone, probably 40 miles, 30, 40 miles, something like that, depending on how much throttle I'm using, which power level I'm in. Right now we're coming up to a place called Belterre, and we're going to make a left. And I will wait for my wife at this point. Okay, now we're heading on the sidewalk, Belterre. What I'd like to do is stop here just a moment and show you this canal. And there's the canal. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's go below it here. Maybe give you a better shot of it. But that's that canal that goes along the trail. And up here, you should see the end of the trail, this section, and that's where we would have come out here. Instead, we'll go along this way. The trail does continue a little further behind me. If we would have made a right turn before we went over that bridge and crossed over the Belterre, we would have gone to the remainder of the trail, which goes to Route 1, and that's probably another 3 or so miles of trail, maybe a little longer. I think the whole trail is about 7.5 miles one way. So a round trip would be about 15 miles. And I think our trip here today will be about the same. So we're on the sidewalk along a road called Belterre, heading down to Center Drive, or City Center Drive, something like that. And that'll take us through City Center. Nice day, a lot of people out. Just have to wear a jacket, but boy, I can't. If I wore any more than what I have on here, I would be sweating. It's a beautiful day out. I'm going to put this in power level 4, give myself a little more speed, bump up to gear 6. Before, I was riding the entire thing in power level 3 and gear 7. So I think the months of riding this bike has brought my legs back into shape again, and feeling better. Now this is Central. I think this is the road we take into City Center. I will double check. Yep, town center of Palm Coast. This is it. Hopefully my wife made the turn. Waiting to see her. I'll wait just a bit. Here she comes. Very good. When I'm in gear 5 or 6 and I've come to a stop, I have a choice. I can either gear down, or instead of gearing down, I can use the throttle until the bike gets up to speed, and then the assist will take over. And I do both. Okay. Now we're moving along. This is really the perfect time of year to be doing this. It's nice and cool, and when you exert yourself, you don't sweat a lot. In the summer, you have to really dress lightly, shorts, sandals, and dress very cool. Put a lot of sun lotion on so you don't burn. The Florida sun here does damage to your skin. But if you put on lotion and a good 7 to 10 rating, or 70 to 100 rating, that does a good job. Now in here, this looks like the building quite a lot. Let's see if I can stop and show you that. Look at that. Wow. That's going to be another development in this area. Now, turn back on the road, back on the sidewalk rather. We have a lot of development now that COVID seems to be waning. A lot of the construction that was put off during the downturn and then the COVID period is now happening. So we're going to be quite a bit more crowded in this area, but even when you have a lot of people, this time of year is nice. And the other thing, in the summers, a lot of the snowbirds leave, and you may lose 30 to 40% of the population. And again, it's warm, but it gets very nice for not having a lot of people around. Now I'm going to have to stop and look at my map and make sure I'm actually in the right direction here. I think I am, but let me just, whoop. I'm gonna have to spray that again. So let's see where we are. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So we're off again. My wife is behind me. Put it in PAS 3, gear 5, go at 15 something miles an hour, and that's a nice way to cruise. I did set my PAS 3 a little bit lower in maximum power, so I'm really down to 13. I'm going to have to make an adjustment on that. Again, experimenting with the bike. See what's what. Go it this way. I think what we'll do is I'm going to turn around and go down this path, which goes around our town center lake. I think that'll be more fun. You can see the lake there. See it? That's our little lake, and City Hall is right there ahead of us. Get back on the sidewalk. It's not too bumpy. Yeah, that's fine. I think power level 3, I can boost a little bit, but it was always pulling me too fast as compared to 4. You can see over there we do have a lot of extra land here still. Now we're behind City Hall. Of course, we could have taken the sidewalk in front of City Hall, but I thought this would be okay. Nice and quiet. Now we can go straight there, but I believe we're going to make a right turn. I think we can stay in the street. This one. There's nobody here. Much better. So this is one of our other buildings in town center. It was supposed to be a big area of stores and things, but it never happened. And we have a few stores in this building, and the other building is City Hall. And at Christmas they put lights around that lake we passed, Town Center Lake, and they have all lighting displays around it, and you just walk around the lake on a nice winter night with a coat on and get some hot chocolate. Really quite nice. And we're going to be making a left turn here. just have to get to a place where the road is has no curb. There we go. Now there's some buildings ahead of us. One is the theater, so Epic Theater, and then behind that is some condos, apartments, and we're going to be going around all of those in the back. It's a nicer way to ride. See another body of water here. Last time I came here, I saw some people fishing, but I didn't see them catching anything. There's always fish in these ponds and lakes. Two reasons. One, they stock them because they keep the body of water cleaner and healthier, and naturally fish get in there. You know, birds eat a fish and then they drop their droppings and maybe have some fish eggs in it. There's a fella that was going fishing or came from fishing. Looks like he had a fish dangling from his rod. So again, this is just another nice path, and there's so many choices and options to take. And probably could drive for months and never use the same path. And with these bikes, you can get all the way down to Daytona Beach and back if you pedal, take your time, or perhaps to St. Augustine. I haven't tried that, but I may one day get a second battery and just keep going. When one runs out, just plug the other one in and keep riding. The only thing is, you'll be taking a lot of weight with you. So these are apartments they recently built within 2 years or so, maybe 3 years now, and you have the option. You can buy condos, houses, or apartments. You can live in apartments here in Palm Coast. And there's a nice bocce court. I think that's a bocce court. So we're going to stop up here so I can check my GoPro battery and memory card, although the memory card should be good for a couple of hours of recording at 1080p, which is what I'm recording. And now this sidewalk we're coming up to is going to take us back to the Lehigh Trail, where we came down earlier. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a rest. Okay, we're off again. The battery is good and the memory is good, so I think we can make it home with the one battery. So now we're heading up a sidewalk along, I don't even know what this road is. It could be Bulldog, I'm not sure. But the end of this road will allow us to go back onto the Lehigh Trail. And I'll be publishing the map from my ride on Facebook. The mapping program in the software that comes with the Heybike Cityrun is a little glitchy, I think. I have had it stop on me. I don't know why, but it did at one time. Now, maybe the new version of the software has improved it. I'm hoping that's the case. But in any case, I use Map My Ride because I think it's accurate and it gives you a great trail of the ride you've just gone on, whether you're in a bike or car or walking. So I use it quite often. It's now owned by Under Armour UA, and you'll see that in their icon. But it is called Map My Ride still, and it's I think, an excellent program. I have no problems with that at all. So I use that rather than the Heybike mapping app. Although I would like to do that, because then they accumulate all your rides for you in the app. But I don't trust it. Next ride I will run them both and see if it works okay. The other thing the Heybike Cityrun does, the new version of the firmware, when you turn it off, whether you turn it off with the switch or the app, and turn it back on, it resets your distance meter. So you lose your distance meter, and if the bike just inadvertently turns off, you lose your distance meter. So I've told them about this. I don't think it's a good feature. I know in my thinking, the reason they did it, that they wanted people who don't use the app to be able to reset the distance meter, and there's really no way to do it with the switches, at least currently. You could do it with the app if you go into what was personalized, now it's individual, and you get in the setting, and there is a line that says reset distance meter, and then you confirm it, and that used to work fine. But now you don't have to use it, because it automatically does it when you turn the bike on. And I think that's unfortunate, and I've told them that it's not good, and now it's a defect. But they say that's the way it is, and they'll see if they listen to me. Maybe when I publish this, they'll listen to me. But there should be a way to have both. Either do it manually or automatically, but not automatically only. All right, now here's the point where we're coming to where the Lehigh Trail picked up, and you can see there's a detour sign there. I guess you can see the detour signs, and that's where we crossed over and went on that sidewalk rather than the trail. So now we're going back on the Lehigh Trail the way we came this morning, or early this afternoon, and then we'll go back onto Colbert and head back to our development. So all total we should do about 12 or 14 miles. Not too bad on a beautiful day like today. This is February 3rd. My God, it's beautiful out. Above us is Route Interstate 95, so we just crossed under Interstate 95. And ahead of us is the trail that's not by a road, but goes along that canal I showed you earlier. And my wife's caught up to me very well. She's a good rider. She has also a Heybike Cityrun, an orange colored one, and I have a green colored one. They also make it in black, but the sides of the battery have the Heybike emblem written a little boldly in white, and I thought that was a little bit too much. And the orange and the green ones just have a little letters Heybike spelled on the side. Much nicer. So now we're back on the trail. I'll turn and see if you can see that over there, the canal through the trees. I don't know if you can see that point down, That's the map of the route we just took and we're on currently. Afternoon. So I'm doing about 15 miles an hour, PAS 3 against the wind. That went down to 14. That was a good gust of wind, it just hit me. Just to speed this up, I'll go on PAS 4 and gear 6. That'll give us a little more speed against the wind. No matter what distance you get to drive on a charge of your battery, it shouldn't prevent you from using more wattage more quickly if that's what you want to do. It's your bike, and if you're not going on a longer ride, it really doesn't matter that much. Maybe I'll get 50 miles instead of 75 or 55 miles using PAS 4 and gears 4, 5, and 6, and that's a lot of miles. So these batteries are pretty good in the Heybike. They're 48 volt, 15 ampere hour, which makes them 720 watt hours batteries, and that's pretty nice with a 500 watt motor. Gives you a lot of extra power. And the nice thing about the batteries, if you have a phone app like I'm running Map My Ride, and let's say the phone starts to wear down a bit, if you bring a cable with you, a charging cable, you can plug it into the battery, and taking very little wattage from the battery, it'll charge up your phone. And that's nice. These bikes are getting better and better. The features are leapfrogging. Citybike came out with included hydraulic disc brakes, hydraulic front fork, a rack in the back, that very substantial rack in the back, fenders, headlight, taillight, and turn signals. And nobody else had turn signals, and an app, and not many people, if any, had an app. Now other manufacturers who were selling the bikes for a lot more money in the 2,000 plus range, which had all these features, Heybike was only $1,300 with all these features. And I might plug, their service people are some of the best I've ever been to or worked with. I have never had a service department work with me better from Hong Kong than Heybike. And I mean all American companies, from Europe, from America, or the Asian area. Heybike is by far the best. As you can see, it's a very beautiful path here. So other manufacturers of bikes are now coming out with similar features that Heybike paved the way to provide without charging extra or a lot more money for the bike to start with. Now, is Heybike the best bike on the market? Well, no. If you're paying $2,000 or $3,000 for a bike, there are probably others that go further, have a 750 watt motor, you know, different features, but for the money, you couldn't buy another bike with everything Heybike gave you than this bike. And the Cityrun, which is the new version, just came out in 22, in the latter part of 22, is an excellent example of improvements that have been made to e-bikes in the last just 5 years, maybe less. And as I said, the features and the improvements are leapfrogging from manufacturer to manufacturer to be competitive, because the market with, you know, these e-bikes is expanding exponentially. You may have at least 50 major manufacturers of e-bikes now, maybe more. And a few are good ones. I think one is called Rise and one is called Rad. I know those two. I particularly didn't like Rad's service when I spoke to them. They didn't want to give me too much time, so I decided not to buy their bike, and they had nothing available. I'd have to wait quite a while. And there are other bikes around, which are very, very nice. One's called Muck something, Muck Wheel, and it's also a very, very nice bike. And let me say one thing, those other bikes too are heavier. They weigh in a 72-pound range, and this bike here weighs about 62 pounds. And believe me, that 10 pounds does a lot for longevity of the battery and for being able to lift the bike and carry the bike, all of that. So now we're back on a road called Cobalt. We've left the Lehigh Trail and we're heading back to our community. I'll put it back in PAS3. Go to gear 5. Nice cruise here. Down the road. Here comes the bike in the bike lane. Nice bike. There's a biker ahead of us, 2 bikers behind me. Like I said, it's a great day for riding bikes because it's just a little cool. The radiant heat from the sun keeps you warm, and just makes it a fine day for riding. They're all fine days, but some are finer than others, right? Following a fellow here. I don't know if he's aware of me, but I'm slowing up to wait for my wife. This is an area on the left. It's an area a lot of mountain bikers come to. It's a trailhead, and in there they have a mountain biking trail in the Graham Conservation Area. And sometimes you'll have cars parked all up and down the road when they have an event. Now we're in PAS 4. I'm doing about 18 miles an hour in gear 5. I've never found it necessary to get up to the max speed about 20 miles an hour because it just isn't necessary. If I had to in PAS 5, maybe gear 7, good flat area, I can get it up to 20, 21, 22, depends on the terrain. If it's going downhill, uphill on the wind, such. But never felt the need to do so. Let's try it now. PAS 5. And let it kick in. All right, there it goes. $21 and a half. And I was pedaling pretty good there. Maybe you saw the camera lean forward as I dug into it in gear 6. We do have a good wind blowing in our face here. Maybe going in the other direction I could have got it about 22 miles an hour, but I don't find the need to do that. And I'll usually stay in PAS 3 or 4 as I ride around. Thank you.
Yep.
So according to the Heybike, I've done about 12.6 miles, which may or may not be right. And according to my Map My Ride, I've done 13.82 miles. So why I have done more on the Map My Ride, I don't know, but I trust the Map My Ride. Usually the Map My Ride shows fewer miles that you've traveled than the Heybike. But right now, almost 14 miles. And that's a nice little ride. Maybe we'll get it up to 15 by the time we get back. Well, my community is coming up here on the right. 14.2, we'll probably do 14 and a half. And by the time I get to my house, it'll be 15. But we'll end it here when we get up to the stop sign. While I wait for my wife, I want to thank you for viewing my video and listening to me. And I hope if you liked it, you might subscribe and click the like button, as I will be producing more videos as I ride my e-bike. So again, Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. And I'll sign off as soon as I get across the road. And that should do it. Have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next video.